And it looks like we're live. Welcome and welcome back to the enolve podcast, where we talk about problem solving. Now, problem solving is something that can happen to us in our personal lives when we need to deal with emotional problems. And today happens to be a German holiday, a day of observance, the National Day of Mourning. And when we experience loss in life, that is a difficult problem to overcome sometimes. And for that, I have an expert here with me today. Sherrie is helping people to, navigate the holidays, especially after loss, because I imagine, as the holidays come around, usually a time of where we come together with our friends, family, and loved ones. If you've experienced loss, that is very difficult. So, Sherrie, thank you so much for being on here. Thanks for
Oh,
coming to the show.
oh, Oliver, it's my pleasure. And thank you very much. It's a very important topic to talk about and something we need to talk about more because it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I was going to ask you, what made you want to, pursue this and make this something that you go on podcasts about regularly to talk about? I mean, not exactly the most pleasant thing that one could imagine to do, because it's, because it's so uncomfortable.
Right. Because you know what? My journey first started 22 years ago when my husband and I lost our youngest son, Brandon.
Hmm.
That's where it all began. And grief was very painful. And what I didn't know then, which what I know now, is that you can heal from that pain and you can step into a very vibrant life no matter what. If you believe this, if you know this, and then you make the decision to choose this, there's help out there that can help you. And once I learned this, my whole life opened up. I'm passionate about it because if it happened for me, it can happen to so many other people. They let their grief or what happened in their past hold them prisoner and hold them back from becoming who they can become, everything that they can become. And I feel like that's a tragedy because you've lost one life and now you've lost another. And the world is losing your gifts, talents, and abilities because you're in this prison of pain.
That's a very interesting way to put it. Yeah, totally agree with you there on that loss for one life versus the other. It seems to me though, there is, I don't know, in that grieving process, I know there's different ways to put it. There's like different steps. I think the 5 or 7 steps that people go through and everything, right? There is a part that where we actually make it important to grieve. And like today we have this National Day of Mourning and everything. So what do you see is the right kind of pacing to, like, at what point do you have to say, okay, that's enough, you got to move on? If I may put it this way,
Right,
it
right,
seems like a fragile balance.
right. Well, first of all, let me say it's really not a moving on, it's a moving through.
Hmm.
Okay. So you don't move on. A lot of people, when they hear move on, they hear, I have to forget about this person or I have to forget what you don't. But I'm not how do I want to say it? I don't necessarily believe in the stages because it's not like you check off a list, you know. It is a series. I compare it to like a wave of emotion, and it's important that we feel these feelings. We are human beings. We feel these feelings, okay? But so you have this wave, this tidal wave of emotion that comes over you when grief is new, and it pulls you under and you tumble and it's taking everything you can just to get up and breathe. That's like the first thing. But as waves come, and if you're doing work and moving through, you become stronger. And so the wave might knock you down next time, but this time, instead of gasping for air, you can stand up, right? And the next time, maybe the wave comes and it shakes you a bit, but it doesn't take you down or take you under. So that doesn't mean, like, I have a philosophy called graduating grief, graduating from the pain and stepping into loving your life again. Okay. So when you graduate from the pain of your grief, it doesn't mean you're never going to have moments of sadness again. It just means that you're not going to lose everything, all your sensibilities. It's not going to take you under and hold you under any longer. You're going to have built up the resiliency to say, you know what? Dang, that hurt. That was rough, but I'm still standing and it's okay. I've got the strength now to, take on the waves.
That sounds so good. Like there's really seem to be a lot of ways to build that emotional resilience to make sure you can deal with it, and without like moving on from it too quickly. And like you said, oh, forget about it, because then you're just kind of detaching yourself, right? But
Right. We need to feel our emotions. And that's why I built something called the Graduating Grief Academy, because, if it's your first grief experience, it can knock you totally off balance. Or if it is, um, every grief experience is different. And as you age, you're going to have more and more. It's just a fact of life, right? And so each grief experience is unique unto its own, but we all enter at different places. Now, I lost my son 22 years ago. This year I've lost my dog, I lost my father, and I lost my best friend and college roommate, all within 10-month period. Okay, I am in grief right now. But what I know now versus what I didn't know back then is that even though I might not be okay today, I know I will be. I know I will be. And just knowing that right now is enough. Just knowing that. And so many people, Oliver, don't know this. And that's why I feel like I need to shout this from the mountaintops. This does not have to be a life of pain and suffering because you've lost someone you love. Yes, it is painful, but it does not have to be your life. It can be a chapter in your life, but your life is still so much more meaningful and can make an impact. We need to help you stand back up and move towards the light of hope and healing.
love it. Such a good message, and you embody it and represent it right now, being out here, being strong, and broadcasting the message, and making something of your life even though you are in grief. So it is holding space for both of those. What a challenging thing to do, and good thing that you not only achieve it yourself, but also you can teach it to others. It seems to me like there's a lot of solutions and strategies that somebody could apply. Is that kind of how it usually works, where there's different kind of techniques that people can, new coping techniques or thinking techniques, strategies that help them navigate this?
Well, there's a place where you can start, right? And then I do have, like, in the second level of the Graduating Grief Academy, it is truly grief completion. It's where we complete the relationship we had with that person so that we can now restructure and rebuild the life we're going to have now that this person is no longer part of it. And so we have to have that, not closure, but we have to complete this chapter so we can move on to the next, right? And I feel that that's very important, but there are a lot of techniques that once we get through that grief completion of how we rebuild our life, how do we get through the fear? How do we handle the guilt of wanting to move on when people might say it's not been enough time, right? Or how can I live a happy life when my son, it doesn't have his life, right? So we have some fear and guilt about that. And so I can help with that. But if I have to give one technique that has helped me more this year than anything, it is profound gratitude. Profound gratitude. Not that my loved ones died, not that my dad died, not that my friend died, not that my dog died, but gratitude for the time that I did have with them, the experiences that I had, that man was my dad and that was my best friend, and the richness that those people brought into my life. Oh, when you are in a deep state of gratitude, you can't be in pain. You can't be in pain because you are so grateful for their light and their being a part of your life. Now you're sad because that has ended. But if you just truly think of who they were, your relationship with them and what they added to your life, and you stay in that gratitude, it's priceless, and it can really help a lot.
That does sound exactly like that. Very valuable. Priceless is a good word. And in fact, as you speak here and as you take me through through your narratives, I see how, you know, having these structures, mental and emotional structures, I feel like that, you know, you kind of help build, seems incredibly valuable and makes you more resilient and helps you navigate life. Not just if someone in your life dies, but also, I mean, we face all kinds of losses in relationships, in, you know, like maybe a coworker goes to another job and really had a good time with them. I mean, right? And so then being able to face these emotions, and like you said earlier, not being tossed and turned by the storm and by the waves, but instead being there, feeling it, experiencing it, living your life, but still, yeah, moving through. So that's really what I would see the benefit of this. What do you call it? The Grieving Academy?
Graduating Grief Academy, yes. It's
Graduating Grief
graduating, yeah.
Academy.
So I see it as a gradual process, right? So you can look at it as, you know, a school, and you graduate through the process, but you can also look at it like going from the darkness and the sadness into the light, you know, so a gradual darkness into, you know, the graduating from darkness into light. So it can be taken, you know, literally and figuratively, and I like both equally.
Yeah, those are great words, and the language and the metaphors. That's what it's all about. I mean, right? Our feelings, nobody else can see or feel them unless we express them, and that's why we express them in words, images, stories. You know, whatever it might be, maybe even dances.
Right, right,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm curious to hear a little more about the academy. What's that look like? If I wanted to start this right now, what is my next step? What's going to
Well,
be involved?
Well, the Graduating Grief Academy meets grievers where they are and takes them to where they want to go. So if you've just lost someone, it might be the most intense loss of your life. Okay. You want to start at the freshman level just to understand what's going on in your mind and your body and your soul. Right. And so this is a video course with a workbook that you can take. And then the sophomore level is, it is grief completion. It is a finite 8-week grief support completion where you find community and you find healing in the work that we're doing together. Okay. Then the junior level is called My Transformation Journey. So that's taking, okay, now we've completed our grief. How do we step back into life? It's rebuilding and redesigning a life we love living. And then the senior level is your journey back to joy. And this is where we literally travel together and we go to beautiful places in the world and we discover the beauty of the outside world. And we're in community with other people who have been where we are. And now they're seeking joy too. So we find others who understand that journey and how hard we've had to work to move through it. But this is about rediscovering joy in the outside world and within you. And so those are more like retreat and workshops. So you can enter wherever you are. So, you know, like ideally to get into the transformation journey, you ideally have to either go through the freshman, sophomore level, or you might be 5 years out of losing someone, but you still really haven't stepped back into life. So we need help and support doing that. So that's where you would do the transformation. So you can come in at any place that's right for you. But see, the difference is why I have it separated is if you're newly grieving someone you love and you're looking at being with people who want to have joy, you don't believe this yet. You can't see this. This looks ludicrous to you, right? And then you have people that are looking for joy, but they're seeing these people at their new level and they have to have the permission to move into that joy without being pulled back into someone else's sadness. So that's why there's not like a one size fits all. So that's why I say we meet the griever where they are, at the level they are, where and what they want to accomplish and where they want to go. And we help them do that. So I have a quiz that people can take that then they can set up an evaluation with me and we can talk about their results and see where the best level is. And all you have to do is go to graduatinggrief.com/quiz. It's free. And we can go over those results and figure out where the best place is for you.
I'm just so impressed. Like the level of expertise in grieving, I didn't even know that was possible. Very amazing how you really, yeah, you have it all mapped out everything that happens. If somebody struggles with the problem of grief, I think you have all the solutions for it. In fact, we have a viewer right now. Anna has just gone through a loss. She lost her father, and she appreciated your comment about gratitude being key and how it's like a warm sunshine that's filtering through the clouds. So that is really really good to have that support of, you know, somebody who's been there, some community and people to exchange, because exactly that conflict where you said some people are on different stages in their life, and especially if you've just gone through loss and then you're on your own now, and then you know, interacting with other people is then kind of weird and awkward, because you don't want to, you know, put a black cloud over everybody else, but at the same time you've got to go through your grief and everything. And so yeah, that exactly, that's a mess to untangle, and I feel like you figured out a really good framework and structure to help untangle that.
Well, thank you. I've worked hard on it, and you know, it's a work in progress. And what I want to say is, you know, you just can't put everyone in one lump sum. And sometimes when people are in their sadness, they want to prevent your happiness. Do you see what I'm saying? And so sometimes when you get into online grief groups, the overwhelming sadness and the sad people want to pull the people who maybe are, you know, a little further along. They want to pull them back. And so I have the Graduating Grief Community that is a Facebook group, but I call it positive grief support. You're allowed to have your feelings, but our members, instead of saying you'll never feel good again, our members will say, I remember when that happened to me. Here's what I did. Maybe this will help you. So I say, you can come in at any level you want, but make no mistake about it. We are going to always shine the light on hope and healing. We're not going to let you linger in your dark place. If you want to linger in the dark place, this might not be the community for you.
Love it. So if you're looking for a pity party, this is not it. I think this is a great message that you can graduate from grief. You can live a positive, fulfilling life without disrespecting or without all the guilt and shame that comes with it, right? And still being grateful for the experience you had with that person.
And you can, and you can have the pain. You can have the pain. We're human beings. We have to feel our emotions. But there comes a point, Oliver, when you're telling your story. Telling your story helps you process it, helps you move through it. But there's also a point where you're telling your story to anyone who wants to hear it, because there's a payoff. And everybody can tell you how horrible that is and how awful that is. And when you start getting that emotional payoff for it, that's where you're going to get stuck. That's where you're going to get stuck. And we don't want people to get stuck there.
Love it. Sherrie, this is such a great message. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise. We'll be sure to drop the link to the Graduating from Grief Academy in the comments, so people can look at those resources. This is an amazing program. I'm really grateful that you do it, because we need to lift up and overcome these problems. So fantastic. Thank you so much for being on, Sherrie, and for sharing.
All right, Oliver, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.